Hi, everybody. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you're all having a really great day. Today we're going to be taking our embossing folders to another level. This is, out of the cards that I created, this is my favorite. It's just gorgeous. So we have all of the beautiful texture, but it's also been highlighted. So that's what we're going to be working on today. I'll show you the examples of what I've done. So these are all using embossing folders. Most of them are 3D, but all we're doing is we're just taking our embossing folders and stepping them up. They're gorgeous to begin with, but let's add another level. Look at this one. I love this one. And then here, this one's a little more subtle. You can't quite see the shine on it, but it is there. Okay. And I think I forgot to grab something. I need my smart. There we go. Okay. All right. So what you need to start with, okay? We're gonna need dark cardstock. It works best on dark cardstock. You could use like dark blues, black, brown, reds, green. Obviously, I use purple in the examples that I had done as well. Yeah, so you need dark cardstock, okay? And you're gonna need embossing folders. So the ones that I'm gonna be using today, this is called the Pinpoint Starlets from Simon Says Stamp. Okay. And this is my new one that I got for my birthday. And it's called Pine Tree Meadow, also from Simon Says Stamp. So you all know I don't keep my packaging, so I've just written on here and then the name. Okay. So what I'm going to start with first is I'm going to run these through my embossing machine. It's very simple. Use whatever sandwich works for your particular embossing machine, whatever you've got. I'm using my Big Kick. When I use my Gemini Tenure, that's a little different. But for this one, takes the extended multi-purpose platform, and this little flippy part comes off, but doesn't come off. It shifts. Okay, so I'm going to take my embossing folder, and I'm also going to take a baby wipe. This is a handy little hint so you don't get as much warping on your cardstock. I'm just going to take my baby wipe and I'm just going to give it, you can't see that, I'm sorry, just going to give it a little bit of a wipe, moisten down my cardstock just a little bit, not a lot, just a little bit. Okay, now the important part is you want to feel onto your embossing folder to see which is the part that's going to push up. Okay, so I can feel these trees. I can feel like I'm running my fingernail across it here, and I can feel where it's catching on the trees because I want my trees to come up. So I'm going to put my cardstock into my embossing folder. And I was just wetting this so that helps prevent the cardstock from cracking too much. This technique, it won't matter if the cardstock cracks a little bit. It's not the end of the world. But you know that is one way to help prevent some of the cracking if you need. Okay, so that's the first one. Big reveal. Like, how gorgeous. Sorry, that's kind of out of the way there. Let's see if I can get that look too. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? So beautiful. Okay, so I'm going to put that one aside. And now I'm going to run my piece of red cardstock. This is, so the black cardstock that I used is, I think it's Recollections from Michael, so it's just 65 pound. This is part of a card front pack that I got from Simon Says Stamp. Pretty sure it was Simon Says Stamp. And it's, I think it's their Schoolhouse Red color. So I've just dampened, yes, that's the word, dampened my piece of cardstock here using the baby wipe. And now I'm just going to run this back through my embossing machine, or my die cutting machine, whatever you want to call it. That's not gonna work. All right. There we go. Okay. Die cutting is out of the way, so I'm going to move this out of the way as well. Side. Look at the picture. There we go. All right. Okay. Ta-da. And ta-da. Okay. And again, this is just such a nice, it's not as in depth as the tree one, but it is a really nice pattern, right? Like just an all over background. This could be for birthdays. This could be nighttime. This could be Christmas. There's so many different things that this could be. Okay. So the first thing that I'm going to do with this particular one, okay, I'm going to highlight the raised portions. Okay. Now there's a couple of different ways that we can do this. There is, if you have, what is the word that I'm looking for? It's a gilding wax. This is an embossing paste. So I'll open this up and you can see it's kind of got like a sticky texture to it. So you can run this through a metal stencil and it will give you really glorious dimension. But the other thing that it did is that is what I used on these tree branches here. I just put it on some on my finger and kind of dragged it off onto the little pieces of pine here. And you can see where it's kind of gummed up a little bit. And, but it adds this beautiful sheen behind there. It's quite sticky. It dries, like it's not sticky now, but I was able to stick some mica into it, but it has this beautiful sheen. Okay, so that's one thing that you can do. So I just picked it up with my finger just like this and kind of buffed it on a little bit. So that's what I did with that particular one. I'm not doing that on this. Let's see. Let me see if I can do that with this one or not. So I'm just gonna tap off a little bit and then I'm just gonna drag my finger. See, this particular one, you want to do it in smaller areas for this, because this is actually meant to be like through a stencil, this kind of paste. But if you have gilding wax, which is almost the same kind of texture, but it's kind of smooth, like a wax, right? You could put that on your finger and just kind of go along and just catch the tops of the edges of your the parts that have been embossed. So, but that is one thing that you can do with this particular medium. Okay, so that's one thing. I'm just going to wipe that off my finger here. The other thing that we can do is take, I've got a sponge dauber here. If you've got a flat not embossing, what's the word that I'm looking for? Yes, an applicator, an ink applicator. So this one's my alcohol one, but if you have one of the flat sponge domes ones, you can put that on here, put your ink on, and just kind of buff it over the top, just like this, dragging it across the top, and it'll just catch the highlights of all of these little areas, right? So that's another way of doing it. You can take your little sponge dauber and just catch some of those edges. So I'm using I had the gold on here earlier. So I can just kind of load up and kind of go in, catch the edges. Just give me a second here and I'll bring this closer to the camera so you can see it. I'm not sure how well. Oh, yeah, you're actually starting to see that there. Okay. So you can see where it's starting to catch the edge there. Okay, so this is one way of doing it, and I might come back in and highlight those just to give it a little bit more depth on some of the bigger stars. The other way is using a brayer, right? So I can load up, and anytime you're loading up a brayer, you don't want to go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, because you're only getting ink in the exact same places. So you want to push it down, push, and lift and push, lift, drag, lift, drag, lift, drag. You get much more on your brayer. Okay, now I'm going to take my brayer and I'm going to run it across. And by using a brayer, all it does is it doesn't sink down into the flat part of my card stock or my card panel. All it's doing is catching the tips of the area. Sorry, clearly I need some WD-40 on my brayer. Hear that? Let me just catch this edge here and then I'll bring it back up again to the camera. And again, this is a pigment ink, so it stays wet a little longer, so you don't want to be smudging it to that, right? Get over the edge here. So, go. Okay, so we had plain red. Now we've highlighted all of those wonderful little spaces. Okay. So I'm just going to cover that up here. I want to keep that dry. I'm also going to take my baby wipe and going to clean off my brayer because I have another thing I want to use it with. So now if I wanted, what I could do is go in with my little sponge daubery here. So you can see, because I've kind of smushed it out a little bit here. So I can buff that out because the pigment ink is still a little wet. And I can move that ink just a little bit, especially on the bigger star points or pinpoints, whatever you want to call them, and kind of softening the edge of each of these pinpoints. And there's a handy thing that also helps dry it just a little bit. Whoops, whoops. Okay, so I'm just going to put that to the side. Okay. So that's what I've got so far. Now I'm not worried about this little sploogie that I've got here because I can either trim down my panel or I can put that as a, I can put my sentiment there. That's not a big deal. Now, another thing, this is what I actually want to show you today. So we're adding dimension. So we've got inks on here. We can add that dimension. But what really takes it from one level to the next is using mica powders. Okay, so you can use Perfect Pearls. I have my Mica Minerals from Lavinia Stamps. I have a couple of different ones. I have a bunch of colors in the Perfect Pearls. There's 3 colors in the Lavinia ones. There's a like this white color, there's a gold, and then there's a gorgeous copper color. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Versamark. So this is a watermark stamp pad or sticky ink, if you will. Okay, because I need something. Now, technically, probably my pigment ink is still a little wet. So theoretically, there might be enough on there that my pigment ink or that my micas might still stick. I'm just going to go and I'm just going to rub. Okay, by doing this, I'm catching the tops of all of that dimension with my Versamark, my sticky ink. Now what I can do is I can come in with my, which one is this on here? That has the gold. Okay, so I'm going to use, look at how pretty that is. Isn't that gorgeous? Woo! Okay, so I'm going to take a bit out of here and I'm going to tap it into my lid because you really don't need a lot. Try not to cough or sneeze when you've got this on the go here. And I'm just going to touch this up onto all of these little, all the little highlighted, the bigger ones actually is the ones that I'm trying to catch here with the deeper sparkle. The other ones I'm going to go in with the Perfect Pearl because it doesn't have the little bit of glitter in it. It's got the sheen and the mica. It just doesn't have that same little bit of glitter. So, and I'm doing this glitter one first because I want it to highlight all of these, kind of the pattern in my embossing folder. That's the whole point of having it, right? Okay. All right, so I've done that. Now I'm going to cover up before I sneeze or do something silly. Okay, so I'm closing that. Now this is something too, if you're using a lot of Purple Pearls, you don't need a ton of it, but you can do, it's something that can be done on a, like a card or one of those things that you can filter things back into, like if you're using jewels or glitter or something like that. Okay, because you can put these back, whatever you're not using, because you're not going to use a lot of it. Okay. So now I'm just going in and I'm going to pick up my Perfect Pearls and I'm going to swirl that on. And everywhere that there's some Versamark, it's going to adhere my Perfect Pearls. And the Lavinia mica one that I used as well. It's not going to pick up everything. I don't want it to pick up everything because all I'm looking to do is to highlight the pattern that's here. That's all I want. I want it to be highlighted and have all of the beautiful details brought out. That's what I'm looking for. That's what I want to see, is all of the beautiful details coming out. There's a reason why we spend, I mean, fortunately enough, embossing folders are a fairly inexpensive tool and you can use them over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, obviously, right? So, but for the amount that you can use a tool, most embossing folders are anywhere from 10 to, well, I have seen some that are like 20 plus, but there's the ones that come with dies and you can cut out some of the shapes, etc. Okay, before I sneeze, I'm going to cover this and then I'll bring it up to the camera so you can see. Okay, so I'm going to put that to the side, kind of tap off that. Give it a bit of a ding. Look at that. Looks like a quilt, right? Like, look at the details in that. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. Okay, so I am going to end up trimming this down a little bit, but I know you're waiting to see the other one, the other card, the one for the front that we did. So I'm just going to give this a wipe because it's got all my mica on it still. Now look at this detail. How gorgeous is this, right? Beautiful. So one of the things that we can do is we can take white pigment ink. Okay? So this is Hero Arts pigment ink. Anytime you're seeing white and you want it to be opaque so that it can go on top of a dark color, it's going to be pigment. Okay, so this is Hero Arts Unicorn pigment ink. And in general, I like to keep a brush that is specifically just for the white. Okay, I don't want to be cross-contaminating, so I have a white brush that's all I use it for. So we can go in here and just kind of touch up the areas. This works really awesome when you've got like a flat brush. I don't have any flat brushes, oddly enough. Or it's, likely, actually, I probably do. I just haven't found it. I just saw one of the people that I follow on YouTube, Amy from Amy Wears, just did a crafting, like a video of her craft space. And I was like, oh, one of these days I'm going to have to do that. That might actually give me enough oomph and a momentum to actually clean my bone after. That would be nice. Okay, so I'm going to re-ink. So I when I'm tapping off, I tap back off into the lid because then I can always go back. I don't like to tap off onto my mat because that's usually something that I'm going to clean up. I've made a practice of tapping off into my lid. It's always going to be there. It usually gets sealed up so it doesn't dry out what's there on my on the area, for example. Okay, so I'm just going to drag here. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm just using my white to kind of highlight all of the raised areas and only the raised areas. So I'm just catching just the edges here. And we've got a little bit of, that's a little bit much there. But you can go in, you can also do this with your finger too. If you don't have these kind of brushes, that's fine. Go in with your finger. You can always use a finger. Anything flat, go in, buff it, move your ink along like that, right? And catch the edge. And then, so this is a little rough. That's fine. But I want to bring out that detail, right? So that's one way of doing it. So we went from a flat black piece of cardstock, we embossed it. Look at that. A couple more. Okay. So we embossed it. Put that to the side here. And now we have a scene. So we're taking all that cardstock. So because the ink is not going to settle into the raised areas, it's only going to catch the tops. It helps us provide that depth. Look at the depth in those trees. How cool is that? Now you say, okay, but Corinne, we're looking at all of these beautiful, I'm just gonna, you've got all of these wonderful mica powders here. Okay, so technically this is a white pigment ink. So theoretically, this should still stick to this. So I'm gonna take my Perfect Pearls and I'm just gonna go in and I wanna do this on the areas that are the snowbanks. So where I have added ink, theoretically, because it's a pigment ink, this should still stick. Okay. Like that. What do you think there? Look at that. And we'll give it a wipe so that it's not sticking on everything, but yeah. Now it's making it look a little bit more like snow. Okay. Like that. Let's catch a little bit more. Now I'm also going to take this and I'm going to run it through a little bit of the trees. And then I'm going to kind of brush it off. So perfect pearls, you might even have, a lot of people have perfect pearls. I want a little bit more white down here to highlight this tree, not the tree, but this, the rest of this snowbank out on this, what I'm assuming is kind of a lake or something, right? So I want to highlight that a little bit more. And then I'm going to take my perfect pearls and I want to work that into the ink that is still wet. Okay. Something like that. There we go. Perfect. Okay, so this perfect pearl, well, you're probably not going to be able to see because I've already got some on my fingers here. Okay, got a little bit of a smudge there. Let's rub that in. Okay. Look at that. How cool is that? Now, the last part that I want to do, and none of this is a necessity. The embossing folder and how it was is gorgeous enough as it is. But the last part that I want to do, so I've still got a little bit of Versamark. I didn't wash off my brayer. Okay, so I'm just going to take a little bit onto my brayer. Put that up here, and I'm going to go along and I want to kind of catch the tops and run it along here, and whatever the brayer is going to catch, that's fine. I don't really have a lot of control. This, you kind of have to let go of a little bit of control sometimes when you're doing some techniques. I know, just don't panic in the background. I can hear you there panic. It's okay. Okay, so now I'm going to give my brayer a wipe off because it does have the sticky ink on it. I don't want to leave that on there, so we'll give it a wipe off. Now I'm going to take, now I do have other colors. So if I wanted to add a little bit of color to this, whoops, sorry guys, background, I have this gorgeous little green here, like this forever green. Quite pretty, because I noticed here that I got some, what do you call it, perfect pearls in a few areas that I may not have meant to. And I'm just going to touch that in a few areas. Don't want it all over. I just want it in a few places. Okay, so again, we're going to close that because otherwise, you know, we could sneeze. That won't be good. I'm going to clean my brush off there a little bit. Drag that off. Okay, so there's with the little bit of green, a couple of hints of green. There we go. This is so pretty. Now I'm going to take my sparkle, my Lavinia sparkle one, and I'm going to go in and I want to touch all of the places because I noticed I got a little bit of Versamark on the bottom here. And all of those places that are still sticky, this little bit of glitter is going to stick to, which is what I want. Should stick a little bit. Some of that pigment ink is still wet. A friend of mine, I taught a class using pigment ink and white pigment ink and perfect pearls or other colors of pigment ink. And she has had these cards for, oh my goodness, 4 or 5 years now. And the white still smudges because that's how wet it was. So we've done everything. We can't figure out what it was. I think it's actually the Recollections brand of the pigment ink. I've never had that problem with the Hero Arts, the Hero Hues one. That one definitely. It's a little crazy. Okay, now check that out. How gorgeous! And you can see where my brayer hit with the Versamark. Doesn't matter because all I've done is added a little bit of perfect pearl there, and now it looks like part of a river or a lake or a something. It's got a little bit of sparkle to it. So pretty. Okay, now let's just turn these quickly into cards. Well, it shouldn't take too long here. I just need to get my trimmer out. I'm going to put my, actually I'm going to give that a wipe down because it's a lot of mica and glitter that's going to be all over the drawers. Okay, so I'm just going to put this one aside to dry for a couple of minutes while we do the red one. Okay, so these card fronts, if I didn't tell you, I meant to, are, what size did I do? They're 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So I'm going to take off about 1/4 of an inch all the way around. So I'm going to make this, so because I had the smudgies on the bottom, I didn't want to keep that. And so this is going to be 4 by 5 1/4. That's what this panel is going to be. And I want to do this here. Okay. So I need a couple of card bases. Okay. All right, card base. Opens that way. Okay, good. All right. So this is essentially what we're going to have here. Yep. Some adhesive. And I'm just using my Barely Arts glue. Art glitter glue, that's what it is. That's the other glue that I recommend. So this Barely Arts is really awesome. Dries clear. It's excellent for paper crafting, also for other things as well. And art glitter glue is the other one that I recommend. It dries clear. It's acid free. It's excellent for using for any kind of paper crafting. So these are the two that I recommend. What's nice about the Barely Arts one is that it comes with, like, you get a kit with it that comes with the fine tipped nozzle, all of that kind of stuff. The art glitter, you know, you have to buy that one separate. So while I'm actually going to trim this one then too. So cut off a portion here. Nope, that's going to catch those trees. I don't want that much there. Right there. More. This is a Tim Holtz guillotine trimmer by Tonic Studios. I love it, and I highly recommend it for anybody who's like looking for a trimmer. It's one of my, oh yeah, see, Pigment Ink is still wet on that gold one, because look at it, it's still, it made a mess. Well, not a mess. I was able to wipe it up, but it is still wet on the, it just made a little pattern on my desk here. Anyway, sorry. If you're looking for a paper trimmer, I do recommend that one. The nice thing, you never have to change a blade. That is the medium size one. There's a huge one which cuts 12 by 12. I have that one as well. Fortunately, I don't have to bring it out too much, but this works great for card making. It works for every size paper that you're using for card making, up to an 8.5 by 11 sheet. It will not cut a, it'll cut an 8.5. It won't go larger than 8.5 inches. So if you're cutting 12 by 12 paper or anything larger than that, you need the full 12 by 12 size, big one. Oh, that's so pretty. Look at that. I love it. Okay, so enough distracting. So I've got a few sentiments ready to go here that I've been thinking about. So I could make this a really lovely thank you card, just like that. See, could go that way. That covers the smudges that were up at the top. So that's not too bad. I like that with some baubles. The other thing that I could do is I could make this a beautiful Merry Christmas. I don't know how much of that you can see. That's really quite lovely. If I want to make it a side fold, you can do that one. Just like that. Okay. Then I've also got a few of these smaller sentiments, which are not too bad. Like, I mean, I could do Merriest Christmas here and then do a few baubles, Warmest Wishes, and that beautiful gold color. Like, it's a nice size for that. But I do tend to like a larger sentiment, so I'm kind of partial to the Merry Christmas. Thank you. Thank you is really nice. I'm just not sure that I need more thank you cards. Well, what the heck, we're going to make a thank you card. You can see how wet that Pigment Ink still is. Like, look at, I'm just getting gold all over me, which is fine because I really don't mind getting gold. Don't mind a little bit of glitz, a little bit of glam. Okay, so this is a nice big thick sentiment that I created using my hot foil machine. That's why it's got that really awesome gold texture on the front of it. Not texture, sorry, gold foil. It's not a texture actually at all. It's very smooth. But it's this really lovely script sentiment that I can put on here at an angle, kind of like that, I think. Push that down. And then I've got some really great baubles. I'm going to bring these ones out again because they're just really awesome. Let's see. this to hold that down. So again, when you're gluing anything on top of or trying to attach anything to something that is using a embossing folder, you want to make sure that you're using a really good adhesive because it's going to stick. You need to make sure that it's going to get down into the crevices plus all of the raised areas, right? So you want to make sure that you're getting something that's going to be a good, sorry guys, a good adhesive. Okay, so let's pull out, these are these cute baubles. Maybe I'll do the big one up here today because it kind of draws attention to covering up some of those splooges that are down there. Let's do, I'm going to try and do 5. I'm going to catch some nice sizes here. Let's get a medium guy maybe right there. Maybe 2 more down here. Maybe a smaller guy like that, and then a nice small. There, I like that. So I've now managed to cover and kind of distract with this huge bauble from the place where I put the gilding wax part, or well, technically it's the embossing paste, but it does help to detract from that. And I'm just using a wax pencil here that I've sharpened to pick up and help stick down the baubles. And again, I'm using an adhesive that dries clear because I actually want to have a little bit of squidging, a little bit of adhesive squidging out, because then that way I know that it has contact in several different places. Okay. Which is why it's important to have it be a clear or oh man, an adhesive that dries clear. Okay, well, before I go and dump the rest of those, let's put those in here like so, and we'll kind of pile these and I will clean them up after the video. And then once I've cleared or closed my adhesive. So we'll just kind of gather them there, put them in one spot, put the flip back on, move on to the next one. Okay, so here's card number 1. Really simple, awesome technique with some really nice impact, right? Okay, now card number 2. I'm going to keep this really simple. I've got a nice small sentiment here. So I've got Merriest Christmas. That's an option. Season's Greetings, which I think I kind of like the Season's Greetings. The other one that's really, oh, this Merry and Bright could be really lovely, right? So we go Merry and Bright. Where's my scissors? So we could go Merry and Bright in here. Actually, that might be really, really nice right there. That one, Season's Greetings. The other one that's really nice on these cards too is this Good Tidings. Good Tidings could fit right on that snowbank almost. Nope, you know what? I like the Merry and Bright. So this is another set of sentiments that I have that I got. It comes in this plate and I can hot foil, use it on my hot foiling machine. And then it has a set of dies that cut out the whole thing. So you do it all as one and it has all of those sentiments. So it's probably got about 12 or 15, no, 12 is probably right. 12 sentiments on it that can get foiled all at one time. So you do one color. Like for example, I have this kind of platinum color, which I really like off of this with this black. And then, yeah. Now, do I want to use, here's the $20 question here. So I've got these really great jewels that are multiple sizes, but that are clear. Actually, I'm either going to use, nope, I'm going to use the black baubles because I think they'll be really cool. So in the same way that I have the gold ones, I have some black ones that have these really awesome texture to them. Not texture, sorry, just some height, but they have these really cool colors on them. Let's see if I can bring one up to the camera here. Like, check that out. How cool is that? So it almost is like an oil slick, right? But it looks really cool on the black. So let's see here. So I've got that. Now, yeah, I like that. Okay. So now we're just going to put these in a few places just to add that little bit of glitz and shine, right? Like not, I don't want it like woo. as in a ton. So I'm keeping them small. I'm not using the larger ones. Okay. Not too bad sized. Okay, good. Flip over. That, and then I want to have them. Oh, do I have enough space to do? Well, I mean, I have lots of space, but I might only want to do the 3 actually. 2 and 3. Yep, I'm happy with that. Okay, so again, I'm gonna pick up my adhesive and my little wax tool here. And okay. Glue back. I'm gonna put these away before I finish the video because you all know me. I'm gonna end up sending them all over my blooming desk, onto the floor, stepping on them. Okay, so you can see where my glue is sort of setting here, but look at how gorgeous that card is. It's very simple. There's not a lot that's added to it, but the texture and the feel of it is just beautiful. Right? So we've got gorgeous thank you card and a beautiful Christmas, merry and bright. Technically for this one, it doesn't even say Merry Christmas. So this could actually be a really nice like birthday card or like a winter scene birthday card kind of thing. Merry and bright, wishing you a happy birthday, that kind of thing. This would also be a really lovely holiday sentiment card for a man, right? It's not too blingy. It's just enough. And yeah. Okay. Well, those are the cards. That's the class today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you're going to be able to use some of the supplies that you have already. And yeah, if you have any questions, so these are the previous cards that I had done. Got a couple Christmas cards because winter's coming, holidays and Christmas is coming. Yeah. So if you have any questions or you would like to make a comment, please do. Please keep it nice because I will be deleting comments that are not nice. We can all. I don't mind constructive criticism, but if you're gonna be snarky, then that's not gonna be staying up. But that's okay. I do really appreciate all of the new subscribers. I really appreciate all of the ones who are just joining us. And anyway, I hope you really enjoy it. Let me know if there's anything you'd like to see. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great day. Bye-bye.